Hello, and welcome to this exploration of consciousness, coherence, and human evolution. I'm Dr. Carol Talbot, and in this episode, we're diving into multidimensional intelligence, what it is, why it matters, and how it's shaping the next frontier of human potential. For decades, intelligence has been measured through a very narrow lens of IQ, intellectual intelligence. How much you know, how quickly you analyze, and how effectively you recall information. And then along came EQ, emotional intelligence, recognizing that self-awareness, empathy, and regulation are equally essential. But even emotional intelligence, as valuable as it is, it remains rooted in the personal, in the realm of thought, feeling, and reaction. The truth is, both IQ and EQ measure only fragments of a far greater spectrum. They tell you little about how consciousness actually operates, and they certainly don't measure how awake and aware you are to the interconnectedness of life, or how aligned you are with the field of information that surrounds and sustains you. And that's where multidimensional intelligence enters the picture. Multidimensional intelligence is the intelligence of awareness itself. It's your ability to perceive beyond the visible, to sense energy, frequency, and pattern, and to translate that awareness into coherent action in the world. Let me start by saying you're not a brain trapped in a body. You are a field of consciousness wearing a body, a transmitter and receiver in a very intelligent universe. Now, consciousness is the space that sees through your eyes, the silence that listens through your ears, the awareness that witnesses every breath. So it's not something you have, it's what you are, and everything in existence, from the stars to your heartbeat, all of it is an expression of that one vast field of intelligence observing itself. Now, another way of thinking of it is that consciousness is awareness. And I don't mean just self-awareness. It's the field of awareness that everything arises from. So it's not in your brain. Your brain is in it. And it's the invisible intelligence that breathes you, moves through you, and connects you to everything else. Every thought, every photon, every cell is a ripple in that field. Now, let's just pause here for a moment, because for most people, this is where everything starts to unravel, because you've been told that the brain is the command center, the CEO of your life, producing thoughts the way a factory produces widgets. But the truth is far more extraordinary. The brain doesn't actually create consciousness. What it does is it translates it. So think of it like the world's most sophisticated receiver, and billions of neurons forming a living orchestra of electrical and chemical symphonies. Now, these neurons don't store your memories inside little folders, as you may have been taught. They actually resonate with patterns in the field, holographic information. So imagine a 3D hologram, and when you cut a small piece from it, that fragment still contains the entire image, just at a lower resolution. And the universe works the same way. Every part of the field, including your brain, contains the pattern of the whole. So another way of thinking about it is the entire melody of your life exists everywhere in the field, like a symphony echoing through space. Your brain doesn't play the song from memory. It simply catches the same resonance again, tuning into that vibration of experience. So when you remember, you're not pulling data from storage. What you're actually doing is lighting up the part of the hologram that matches that frequency of experience. Think about when you remember a childhood moment. You're not actually replaying a video in your head, are you? You're reconnecting to the vibrational field of that event. And that's exactly why 10 people can witness the same scene and each recall it differently. Because they're each tuning to their own frequency imprint of that reality. Your brain, then, isn't the source of consciousness. It's more like a translator between dimensions. And when I say dimensions, I don't mean sci-fi parallel worlds. I'm talking about layers of frequency. So just like light has different wavelengths, reality has different vibrational bands of information. And your brain translates those vibrations into sound, color, emotion, and thought so that you can experience them as a physical world. Imagine the universe as a grand orchestra. Some instruments you can hear, others play notes far beyond your ears. Your brain is the translator that turns those invisible harmonies into a world that you can touch, see, feel, and experience. If you could look at it through the lens of quantum biology, what you would see is trillions of photons, light particles, flashing in and out of existence inside neural tissue every second. And those flashes are not random. They're communications, coherent light signals transmitting information faster than any synapse could possibly fire. So it's a bit like watching a neon sign on a busy city street. The lights seem to move in waves or shapes across the sign, but nothing is actually moving. Each bulb simply flashes on and off in a precise sequence, and it's that pattern of light that creates the illusion of motion and meaning. Now, your neurons work in much the same way. Each photon pulse, each quantum flash, carries a piece of information, and together they create the moving picture you call thought, perception, and experience. You're not seeing the world continuously. You're perceiving a flicker book of light, reality updating itself billions of times per second through the language of photons. Research on photons and biophotons was led by pioneers like Fritz Albert Popp, and he discovered that living cells emit light. Not metaphorically, I mean literally. Every cell in your body sends out between 10 and 100 photons per second, forming a vast, shimmering web of communication that binds your entire organism, your entire body, into one living hologram. What's more, this light is intelligent. It carries instructions. It organizes how your cells divide, how your DNA replicates, and how your organs synchronize. So when you hear people say, "You are light," it's not poetic, it's physics. You really are a living field of photonic coherence, and the clearer your light, then the clearer your perception of reality. And that brings me round to DNA, one of the most misunderstood elements of existence. Now, you've probably been conditioned to see DNA as a static biological blueprint, a set of chemical instructions which determines eye color, height, and maybe whether you like ice cream or potatoes. But you know what? In the last few decades, even mainstream science has begun to catch up with what mystics always knew. DNA isn't a closed book. It's both a receiver and a transmitter. When scientists observed what's called the phantom DNA effect, they discovered something truly astonishing. What they did was they removed the physical strand of DNA from a vacuum chamber, and the photons, the light that once spiraled around it, continued to form the same pattern, as if the DNA was still there. So in other words, DNA imprints light. It's like it leaves a memory in the field, and it shapes the very geometry of the space around it. What does that mean? Well, it means that you, yes, you, are literally leaving an energetic imprint wherever you go. The chair you sit in holds the memory of your frequency long after you've left the room. And you're continuously writing information into the quantum field, as well as reading from it. There's actually photographic technology that can demonstrate this. A special high-frequency camera, originally developed from Kirlian photography, could take a picture of you sitting in a chair right now. Then if you stand up and move elsewhere, and the camera takes another image of the now empty chair, what shows up is astonishing. A luminous outline, a ghost-like residue of light in the shape of your body still imprinted in the space you just occupied. So your physical form may be gone, yet your energy signature remains, as if the photons, as if the light themselves remember you. Now that's a humbling and awe-inspiring reminder that you're not just confined to your skin and your physical body. You're constantly broadcasting, constantly encoding space with your unique frequency. Every interaction, every word, every breath leaves a trace, an energetic photograph in the quantum field. Now let's get back to DNA, because at its core, DNA is what's known as a fractal antenna. Now that might sound complex, and here's what it means. A fractal is a pattern that repeats itself at every scale, like the branches of a tree that look like a miniature tree, or the spiral of a seashell that mirrors the shape of a galaxy. It's nature's way of repeating intelligence across dimensions. And an antenna, of course, is something that receives and transmits signals. So a fractal antenna is a receiver that can pick up a wide range of frequencies, not just one channel, but many, because its shape naturally resonates across multiple scales of reality. Your DNA is built the very same way. Its double helix coils and supercoils create a geometric structure that's exquisitely sensitive to vibration, light, and sound. And it doesn't just sit there storing information like a biological hard drive. It also listens and it responds. It picks up information from higher fields, higher dimensions, the subtle fields of consciousness, and then translates that information into what I call biochemical language. And by that, I mean it converts energetic data into physical instructions your body can understand. So how your cells divide, how enzymes activate, how hormones balance, how healing begins. Imagine your DNA as a translator sitting between two worlds, the invisible realm of frequency and the visible realm of form. Every coherent thought, every emotion of gratitude, every wave of love or insight sends a signal that your DNA can interpret and express through the chemistry of your body. When your internal field is coherent, when your mind, emotions, and energy are all in harmony, your DNA vibrates in symmetry. It becomes like a perfectly tuned instrument, receiving higher bandwidths of information. These could be frequencies of clarity, vitality, intuition, and creation. So you literally become more capable of perceiving higher intelligence because your internal receiver is clear and resonant. And that's why ancient traditions always spoke of enlightenment as illumination, because when your DNA is coherent, basically you emit more light. You become radiant, quite literally. This is why moments of deep peace or love feel almost luminous, because you literally do emit more light. Your DNA uncoils, your cells, they breathe, and information just flows freely through your whole system. And that's when you begin to perceive guidance, insight, synchronicities, not as miracles, but as natural communications from a higher intelligence flowing through your field. So now just imagine the opposite. When you live in fear or stress or resentment, what happens? Your field contracts. Your breath shortens, you hold your breath more, and your electromagnetic charge becomes chaotic. So what happens? Your DNA tightens like a coiled spring protecting itself, and your internal Wi-Fi signal just drops. Suddenly, everything feels disconnected. Right? Have you experienced that? And you keep encountering the same frustrations, the same relationships in new costumes, the same lessons all on repeat. It's not that life is punishing you. It's that your signal is distorted. You're trying to stream ultra-high definition reality on an old dial-up connection. And that's why I often say, the quality of your connection determines the quality of your creation. When your inner circuitry, your mind, your body, your energy, when they operate in coherence, you access a different dimensional level of intelligence. Now, just a little aside here, because I want to just clarify what I mean by coherence. It's a word I use a lot, but in simple terms, coherence is basically harmony. It's when the different parts of your system, your thoughts, emotions, your body, they're no longer fighting each other, but working together like a perfectly tuned orchestra. Think of a symphony warming up before a concert. Each musician plays their own notes, beautiful on their own, but together it sounds chaotic, almost painful. And then, at a signal from the conductor, every instrument aligns to the same key and the same rhythm. And suddenly, there's music. And that's coherence. Or maybe picture this. You're trying to tune into your favorite radio station, and there's static. The signal fading in and out. Now that static is what happens inside you when your thoughts say one thing and your emotions feel another, and your body is tense or exhausted. The signal is weak and distorted. Now when you take a deep breath, calm your nervous system, and bring your mind and emotions into alignment, what happens? The static clears, and the message comes through with crystal clarity. Now that's coherence in action. One of my favorite studies on this comes from the Heart Math Institute. They discovered that when people feel genuine appreciation or love, the electrical rhythms of the heart become beautifully ordered. The brain's activity then synchronizes to that rhythm, creating physiological harmony throughout the body. In that coherent state, things like intuition heightens, decision-making sharpens, and even the immune system strengthens. You literally think better, feel better, and perceive more clearly when your energy is all aligned and coherent. And I often say that coherence is the master key to the invisible internet of consciousness. Because when you are coherent, you're connected. You become a stable signal in a very noisy world. And that's when higher intelligence, those insights, guidance, creativity, it can all flow through you without interference. The ancient mystics might have called it alignment. Quantum physicists might call it resonance, and I call it coherence, the art of being in tune with yourself and through that, in tune with the universe itself. When intuition sharpens and creativity flows effortlessly, you start to experience what I call reality navigation, which is the ability to move through opportunities and timelines with an uncanny sense of knowing. It's as if the universe begins to rearrange itself to meet you halfway, because your internal GPS has finally locked into the right frequency. So this is the essence of multidimensional intelligence. It's certainly not about gathering more data or memorizing more formulas. It's more to do with cultivating the coherence that allows higher information to just simply flow through you. It's about remembering that intelligence isn't something you possess. It's more something you participate in. When you start to live from that understanding, that's when everything shifts. Your relationships become more transparent because you sense the underlying patterns of energy exchange. Your creativity expands because you're no longer trying to think your way to ideas. You're downloading them from the field. And your body heals faster because your cells are receiving clear instructions from your very own light, your own light field. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to trust life again. Because when you realize that consciousness is the true architect of reality, you stop fighting the current. You start listening to it. You move with it. You allow it to inform your next step rather than forcing it. And that's what my new book, Multidimensional Intelligence, Activating a Higher Blueprint for Human Evolution, that's what my new book is all about. It bridges both science and spirituality to reveal how consciousness interacts with DNA, how timelines weave through our choices, and how we can upgrade our internal architecture to match the higher blueprint already coded within us. It's not a theory. This is an invitation to you to live as the next version of yourself that already exists in a higher frequency. And because I know people need to feel this rather than just hear about it, that's why I created the multidimensional field scans. Now, these are not personality assessments or energy readings. They're frequency diagnostics for your consciousness field. And let me tell you, they are phenomenal. I'm so excited to share these with you because during a multidimensional field scan, what happens is I read the architecture of your energy field, like a mirror, the blueprint beneath your personality and patterns. And so the scan reflects more than 15 aspects of your multidimensional anatomy, your 12 chakra system, DNA strands, timeline threads, ancestral patterns, distortions, as well as your current and optimal timeline frequencies. Basically, it's a mirror that shows what's active, what's dormant, and also what's waiting to be remembered. So it's a co-creative reflection of your consciousness field. Now, once that awareness has landed, the next stage of the work begins, which is baseline signature frequency. If the field scan reveals the map of your multidimensional terrain, then what happens is your baseline signature frequency is the music that animates it. It's the playground that you're playing in. It's your core vibrational tone, the fundamental frequency that your field naturally emits when you're aligned with your original blueprint. So think of it as the key to your entire orchestra. When it's clear, when it's coherent, everything from your thoughts and emotions to your DNA communication, it all harmonizes. Now, accessing this baseline, what it does is it allows me to measure the precision of your signal In other words, how your field is broadcasting through your chakras, through your DNA and your light architecture. It then identifies whether your system is operating from its true tone or from the distortions and static of old programming. So once your baseline signature frequency is identified, then we can begin the work of entrainment, guiding your field back into resonance with your optimal timeline. And that's where deep coherence stabilizes. When you're aligned with your optimal timeline and entrained to that frequency, what happens is you begin to feel life flow differently. So clarity replaces confusion. You'll notice more synchronicities, also more opportunities, and opportunities that once seemed way out there, out of reach. Now they can begin to materialize effortlessly because you're aligned with your optimal frequency and optimal timeline. So 1, the multidimensional field scan gives you awareness, and 2, the baseline signature frequency gives you embodiment. And so together they form a bridge between knowing your potential and living it. So it gives you a tangible pathway to alignment, coherence, sovereignty, and multidimensional mastery. Many people tell me and describe the experience like meeting themselves beyond the mirror. They suddenly understand why certain patterns in their life repeat, why their body reacts in specific ways, or why the next level of success has always felt just out of reach. So once you see your own field, you gain the power to shift it. And the scans are basically a living extension of the book, the experiential technology behind the philosophy. Because I don't believe that multidimensional intelligence is meant to be studied. More than that, it's meant to be embodied. Because when you see your brain as a receiver, your light as information, and your DNA as an antenna, you no longer question whether you're connected to something greater. You experience it. This is when you stop chasing purpose because you start transmitting it. You become a conscious participant in evolution itself, and that to me is the real definition of intelligence. So it's not about how much you know, but how fully you allow life to know itself through you. It's like holding up a mirror to your multidimensional self, not who you think you are, but who you truly are beneath the filters of identity, belief, programming, and conditioning. And once you see yourself at that level, well, you can't go back. You start to live differently. You respond differently and you create differently. And of course, that's the purpose of multidimensional intelligence, to awaken the blueprint within you that already knows how to evolve. Not by adding more information, but simply remembering what's been dormant, what's been asleep. And not by competing, simply attuning, and by transmitting coherence into the collective field. So let's face it, the world doesn't need smarter minds, but what it does need is coherent beings who are aligned with who they truly are. Beings who can perceive beyond polarity, who can hold multiple realities without collapsing into fear, and who can consciously stabilize frequencies of love, truth, and creation in a time of great transition. If you've ever sensed that you're here for more, that there's a deeper intelligence running beneath the noise of daily life, this journey really is for you. It's more than just evolving, it's remembering, because as you remember, you activate the multidimensional intelligence that's always been yours. So in coming episodes, I'm going to be going deeper into these themes, exploring consciousness as the invisible internet, DNA as the antenna of awareness, and what it means to live as a quantum being navigating multiple timelines. So until then, take a moment to notice your own field. Take a moment to feel the space around your body and recognize that you are the space. Your thoughts, emotions, and energy are all frequencies shaping the geometry of your reality. So ask yourself, what signal are you transmitting today? I'm Dr. Carol Talbot, guiding you to reimagine intelligence, awaken your DNA blueprint, and live as the magnificent multidimensional being you truly are.